Jackson Oaks. You had a career in software engineering, a stint running your own dev shop, and now you build solutions with open source AI models locally on a client's device. Does the future of AI scare you?
It makes me feel uncertain. For most of my life, I knew what I was going to do. I've been coding since I was 14. I knew I was going to be a software engineer, and I knew I was going to make good money doing that. Now with AI, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm scared, but I would say it's the first time in my life where I really just have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And people ask me what effects it's going to have on software engineering, and I'm like, I really don't know. It's pretty significant though.
Yeah, dude, that's probably the best answer I've ever received from somebody. Like, I've talked to John Cheney, I've talked to your friend Tanner Woodrum, all these people involved in AI. And I've asked most of them some question like, are you scared about the future? Do you think it's going to destroy us all? Which is a common take from people.
Yep.
And really, we don't know that. But I think the uncertainty, like you could be fearful about that, but just being uncertain is probably the strongest emotion that I could relate to.
Yeah.
But like, will I have a career? You know, if I stay in the corporate workforce, if I wanted to start my own business, would I be replaced by some new AI innovation?
Right.
You know, there's so many uncertainties where it's like,
and it's kind of a mix. Sometimes it's exciting, and it's like,
for sure,
a guy like me can go start a business and do pretty well because there's so much available to kind of help me. I'm really good at software, but some of the business stuff has been a lot of work in progress. And so there's this exciting element to it. And then there's also this element, like you said, of, you know, I may spend all this time or do this thing and it may not work out. And that's kind of the, I guess, fearful side. And for me, they kind of mix in the middle. Yeah. And that's where I land on uncertain.
Yeah. And you just said something here where like, you're pretty good at software. Well, we'll go really good. You're really good at software. Maybe business stuff you're lacking. But you did make six figures at what age as a software engineer?
21.
21. So started coding at 14. By 21, you're in college, realize I'm making six figures already doing software engineering, and then you drop out. Right?
I actually dropped out before then. So I hit college. I did internships in high school. I did one semester college, and I got a paid internship for $20 an hour. And I was
$20 an hour at what age?
That was at 20.
That's not terrible 19, for a 20-year-old, 19-year-old.
So I was like, this is the most money I've ever made. Yeah. And I was like, I'm paying to do college, and we were doing very rudimentary, intro CS classes. Yeah. And then I was like, or I'm getting paid to like really build some cool stuff. I was like building apps and using new tech. And my brain's never been wired for school, ADHD and whatever it is, but it just was never my environment. I love to learn. I just struggled in school. And so I just decided to drop out. I decided my degree would be my resume. And so I did internship. I took on another internship. I did both of them full time for like a year. And then this technology I was using kind of blew up. Google came out with Flutter. It was a cross-platform app technology.
Sure.
It kind of blew up, and some of the job listings were like, anyone willing to learn Flutter? And I was like, I've been doing it for like a year. Here's some apps I published on the App Store. And they're like, no one's been doing it. It's like barely 3 years old.
Yeah.
And so that is where I hit six figures because people were so desperate for engineers that despite my lack of degree, it just wasn't relevant because of the experience I had. And so I was able to, it was kind of the right place at the right time.
Well, I just want to call out that I think it's even more impressive that at a younger age, before AI was a buzzword and we all use it every day, before that, you were already kind of striking out on your own, making money before you had a degree, where now it is a lot more accessible, where someone like me who doesn't really know any coding languages, we were talking off camera, but I have learned Python, but that's through like 2 classes in school,
right.
Never really built anything meaningful, just I made hello world appear, and that's kind of it.
That's about it, yeah.
So like that's what my experience is, but it's so much more accessible to, use AI tools to build things now. So I think it's even more impressive that you were already doing that at a young age and you're able to get a job just by being willing to try something new.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it was big for me because, and that's one of the reasons I'm not really scared of AI is whatever happens, like I've learned that if you're just kind of willing to work and try and go for it, like you can do a lot, and there's a lot that you can get done, and you can learn and you can earn. And so, you know, I learned software because that's where I saw opportunity, and now I'm learning AI because I see opportunity there. You know, it never originally was because I love zeros and ones, right? But you know, I saw a lot of opportunity there, and then when I found out I was good at it, I just kind of leaned into it.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you're leaning into right now. So you had a short-ish career as a software engineer working for other companies, and then you started your own dev shop saying, hey, I'll build stuff for clients. So bring me to that moment where you had started your own dev shop before you made the leap into AI solutions.
Yeah. So I was working in software. I worked a couple good jobs. One of the companies, their investor pulled out and they laid off 80% of the company in a single day.
Nice.
Job hunting, landed a better role. That's the thing about, I think, losing a job is often, at least from my experience and what I see with almost everyone I talk to, is like it ends up being like the best thing for you because you kind of, I think circumstances determine a lot of our output. And so when you're in a circumstance when like you need a job, you know, I was applying to jobs like full time, you know, I had wife, kid on the way at this point, and I was like, I really need like a job. And so ended up almost doubling my salary from that job to the next. And so ended up being really good for me. But that job was a little bit bigger company, a little bit more corporate. And I realized I just didn't really thrive in that environment, you know,
it's like too structured, like all the admin that's not even building solutions.
And like, a lot of politics.
Yeah.
And they started to struggle, and they did some interesting things, and trying to skirt their own policies, like severance policies type of thing. And I was like, that's so dumb. Like, and so I ended up leaving that job. And when I was leaving that job, I was just going to look for a better job. And this realization kind of hit me. Like, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I've always liked business. The biggest thing is I've always liked building things. And for me, business appeared to be the route of where I could go, just like build things and sell them. And that was kind of the dream. But I realized all the jobs were kind of the same, you know, and I realized that's not what I wanted to do. And so, you know, I had gotten good at software. I knew I could build products for people. So I started a dev agency because I knew I could make cash immediately. And it was really...
Actually, sorry to interrupt, but you said you knew you could make cash immediately.
Right.
Was that overconfidence? Because like you didn't have the marketing chops to let people know, right?
Right.
Or how did that go? Did you actually like start to make money immediately?
Yeah. In my mind, it was, I know people pay for software work. And so I knew that if I just kind of went as like an independent contractor, like I would find some work.
Okay.
What that looked like, I wasn't actually totally sure yet. I ended up booking a call with Darren McKee to turn LinkedIn into my lead funnel upon a few recommendations from some guys on LinkedIn. And so I ended up signing my first client the month I started my little dev agency. And so then I felt pretty good about it, and I was able to sign clients pretty consistently after that.
So shout out to Darren.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. 100% of my business has been inbound from LinkedIn since the beginning, even after the pivots. And now, you know, I do something completely different. All our leads are still organic from LinkedIn.
Yeah. Awesome. So you're building solutions for clients. Now walk me through the moment where you realized like, oh, AI is a thing. I could build with AI. Maybe I should pivot.
Yeah. I was hardly even aware of AI before I started my dev agency. I was kind of in the camp of like, oh, it's a really oversized, you know, autocomplete, you know. And I was like, whatever, big whoop.
Yeah.
100% of my dev agency clients were AI was involved in their product in some way. And so I had to work with it nonstop. And that's where I started to see like, oh, this is actually like pretty cool, and you can do a lot. I mean, it was really, the biggest thing for me was all the different use cases, right? It's hard to think about how you'll use AI, but when, you know, when someone comes to you and is like, hey, I want to build this, you're like, oh, that's creative. Like, let's try it. And that taught me a lot. And so that's what kicked me into the AI space.
And we were talking off camera, but there was a specific customer that was kind of like the final straw. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, he's what actually shifted my whole business, is because he came to me and goes, "Okay, we're building this app. It's great." He goes, "But my legal team just came back and said the data we're using is very sensitive." And this was last year, and things have changed a lot since last year. But at the time, his legal team was like, "Absolutely not. You cannot use third-party AI APIs. The data is too sensitive." And he's like, "This pretty much kills my project dead in the water."
Yeah.
And so I was like, there's this open source AI community. And at the time I was like, I don't even know what an AI model is, but apparently they're open source and you can self-host them on gaming GPUs. It's like asking ChatGPT. And so I was like, I don't know anything about this, but I am sure down to try. Like, that sounds cool. And he was like, I don't really have any other options. Like, I want to go for it. I want to build this app. And so we went heads down for like 3 weeks. He bought two 3090 NVIDIA GPUs.
Which cost how much?
Those were, I think he got those for $800 or $900 a piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, used. And so we put those together in a computer. I was just working on my old gaming PC. I booted it up on Linux and I was like, let's see if I can host an AI. And I worked pretty crazy hours, but after the 3 weeks, I was hosting an AI model on my gaming PC. And then I was able to host it on his server, and he had more memory than I did. So we hosted like a pretty good sized open source model, and it crushed. It did really, really well. And that was the coolest thing to me. Just like hosting my own AI.
Yeah.
I was like, this is on my own computer. And at first I just thought it was cool. It's private, it's owned, it's mine. But what was really cool is then he wasn't paying any token fees. And he was like, we can use this all we want. Like, I just got to keep the lights on. And so that to me was the coolest thing ever. And so I pivoted my whole business at that point. I left the dev agency. Like I said, I was kind of just finding my footing as an entrepreneur. I was like, why don't I start selling my own thing? And that, when I saw that, I was like, that's what I want to do. That is cool. I want to do something with that. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but so I leaned into that, co-founded Recursion AI with my co-founder Riker. And we've just been building that ever since.
Hey guys, real quick, if you're a YouTube creator specifically, we've just partnered with our first sponsor. We're very excited about it. It's tubeanalytics.ai. Tubeanalytics.ai is an AI-powered YouTube analytics software where you can plan videos, research your niche, see insights that YouTube Studio isn't giving you. So if you're interested in that, you can start for free at tubeanalytics.ai. Go ahead and type that into your browser or link in the description below. So Recursion AI pivoted to Recursion. Would you say that you have a higher lead flow or higher demand for what you're building now?
Yeah.
Or you do?
Yeah.
So that was a quick yes. Is it like we have way more
was
demand?
Niche, and it was like a perfect niche.
Yeah.
But we built this software so we could crank out apps really fast. We were just following Lovable, but our pitch was like, you get senior engineering, but like at a lower cost kind of thing. And we just built a lot of reusable systems.
Yeah.
And so our pitch was, if you're an individual with an idea and like 3 to 5K to burn on it, right? We're your agency. And so it was very niche, and we consistently got maybe one client a month. And so, we'd find a person who wanted to build something. But as soon as I pivoted to AI, all of my dev agency clients wanted self-hosting. And so I was like, well, there you go. And it was small. I'd only done it a couple months, and I think we had 4 clients that we were actively working with. And they were all like, that's super cool. The biggest thing they asked me was like, what's AI going to cost? And the answer is like, nobody knows. It's tokens. I didn't even know what a token was at the time. They're like, what's a token? I'm like, you got me. I don't like a word. And so
a word?
I don't know. So they're like, we're paying for words. So nobody knows. Then I would just pitch them and say, hey, I'll host an AI model and give you your AI for $300 a month. And I was kind of naive. I really had no idea what I was doing, and I was still figuring out the infrastructure. And the open source models were very much hobbyist models at the time. Like no one was really using them in production last year. They've grown a lot since then, and the adoption went really, really wide. But at the time, we were trying to make stuff work with really, really lightweight AI. So there was a lot to learn. But people love my content a lot more. And now we've actually productized and are actually starting to sell our own software, which is cool because it's the first time I'm making money. And we just signed our first subscription. But it's the first time I'm making money where I'm not actually working. Like, I'm always working on our software, but that guy just pays monthly just to use it.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool feeling. And so, yeah, I'm super stoked about what we're doing.
So you moved from the project-based dev shop to a subscription model now. And I'm sure there's still some if someone wants to pay, you would do some consulting, or you would still do some project work. Not to say that doesn't exist, but
we do some custom AI like automation, and you featured Tanner on the podcast. We actually work together quite a bit on that, and we'll do like self-hosted automation stacks, and that's great to like pay the bills and keep the lights on. But yeah, now it was cool to have someone be like, this software is awesome, I want to pay for it. And so we're leaning into that, and we just want to just sell it more and get more people self-hosting.
So you mentioned tokens. Do you have a better answer for what tokens are at this point? Or are we just going to stick with words?
I don't know if I have a better answer. I have a more technical answer, but that's not always better.
I'm thinking like for my mom who
right.
watches most of the episodes, she's a nurse. She's not going to understand what a token is. And
Right.
most of the lay people who are less technical than even myself, who I'm not technical, they may not understand what a token is,
Right.
but it's some increment of usage that we could say, for simplicity's sake, is how many words the model is processing. Is that fair to
it's funny.
wrongly summarize?
I would probably say that. I said the same thing last year. It's basically words. I'd probably say that again today because you can get into the weeds on it. Well, sometimes it's 4 characters or it's 8, but it's basically words. And the API providers like Anthropic or OpenAI, they charge per token. So the simplest way to think about it is a token is a word. However many words that go into the AI and that the AI generates, that's your cost.
And yeah, so the reason why I want to harp on tokens for a second is the cost, because I think that's one of the reasons why your business model makes so much sense, right?
Right.
You're able to set this up for a client where they can locally host their own AI model, where they can have all the conversations they want, and they're not running up token fees,
Right.
asking the same question over and over, not realizing they've already asked that, or, adding more context that the AI model doesn't really need, but, they typed it out, so there it is. You don't have to pay those extra fees for that.
Yeah, it's a whole different mindset because it's CapEx instead of OpEx. So it's instead of paying over time as you grow, it's pay once and then unlimited usage after that. And so it's a completely different mindset. And the really fun thing, one of our clients, so he was our beta client for our software. And so he's not paying yet. He gets it all for free. So we technically have 2 people on the software, but one of them is like our guinea pig. And he just left a review though. He's like, it was really cool because all my competitors, they offer on their premium features 15, they run a recipe app and they do 15 recipe scans a day, right? You can take a picture and AI scans it. He goes, but since we're self-hosting, we were like, and that's only for their most premium. They have like tiers. That's only for their most premium. He's like, what if we just offer unlimited to everyone?
Yeah.
Like, we're not paying for tokens. What if we just did that? And he was like, it just really started to unlock our creativity and our offer, right? Because it wasn't just now that it's free. It's like now we're thinking about AI completely different, right? It's one thing to try and optimize for tokens and keep your spend low. And then it's another say, well, if I wasn't spending on tokens, like what would I do?
Yeah.
And so that's been a really fun piece of seeing people just get really, really creative, right? Especially with new agents coming out like OpenClaw or Hermes agent.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on OpenClaw too.
They run autonomously, and the token bill, I know a guy paying $1,200 a month for a private OpenClaw agent that he's just experimenting with. And I'm like, oh, wow. And it's crazy to then self-host and say, well, I'm going to spend the money up front, right? I'm going to spend a couple grand on a good computer. And then I can run this 24/7. And we can jump into this too, but I don't want to derail too much, but we ended up using Mac because I couldn't afford the NVIDIA GPUs.
Yeah.
And the power draw, I had a NVIDIA rig with 2 5090 GPUs. It cost me about $8,000. I got 64 gigabytes of memory. And just to turn it on, it was $400 a month in power. It wasn't even in use.
Just like that's your electricity bill?
Just to keep it running.
Yeah.
Yeah, in electric. And it's still good. You're not paying for tokens, and if you have a lot of usage, it can still pencil. But that was tough. Now we bought a Mac Studio for $9,000. It has 512 gigabytes of memory, and we're processing over 100,000 requests per month. So the AI is actively in use. It's not just idling, and it's $15 a month in power cost. So that just blew my mind. So,
yeah, I had a question here. It was going to be a little clip, so I'll just point, and everybody actually watching the whole episode, I'm sorry to backtrack a little bit. But for the clips, is Windows or Mac better for AI?
In my opinion, I like Mac, and I get flamed for that a lot.
There you go. Mac is better for AI.
I like Mac. And it's just because from my experience, people like to tell me I'm wrong, don't host it on Mac. But the thing is, I'm the kind of guy who like I didn't do college. I dropped out. I just kind of learned from experience, and from my experience using both, Linux, NVIDIA, Windows, whatever, and then using Mac, the performance is great. The costs are negligible, and the hardware is 1/10 the cost. And so it's funny because I'm just like, that just in my mind, that just works for me. That's what I'm looking for,
Yeah. And it's prettier on the desk too, right?
Yeah, and I use it as a daily driver.
Yeah.
It's cool. I'm coding on it. I love the Mac OS. I have a MacBook. So I'll be coding on the Mac Studio while it's processing AI requests. It can do a lot.
Which chip did you get on the Mac Studio?
That one's the M3 Ultra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we wanted the best specs to get the best speed.
Yeah. And I think they just released is it the M5 Ultra?
They launched the M5 for the MacBooks. And it's anticipated that in June they'll have a new M5 Ultra, and we actually just got an M5 MacBook. My co-founder ordered it so that we can develop locally, because our Mac Studio, we were developing everything on it, but now it's getting a lot of usage and we don't like shutting down the server, to test stuff. And so he got this MacBook with like 128 gigs of memory, M5 Max chip, and the crazy thing is it is actually, we're getting better performance on it than the M3 Ultra. And it's a much smaller chip. It's not so there's rumors of the M5 Ultra, and if it drops, it's going to be really crazy good. And Apple's advertising it specifically for AI.
Yeah. So you'll be picking one up day one. Right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I've got an M3 Max and 64 gigs of RAM on this thing, and I've wondered, like, what could I do?
You could do quite a bit.
Yeah. I got it for video editing because I didn't want to have any bottlenecks with that. But that was before AI was even that big. I've had this for a few years now.
Yeah. Yeah, you can actually, my favorite model range for self-hosting, the models are sized in parameters, right? Because under the hood, it's essentially just math. So it's like, imagine parameters on a graph, and they have billions. And so they're measured per billion generally. So put it in perspective, a model like Sonnet is somewhere in the range of probably, I would say 600 to 800 billion parameters.
And that's Claude by Anthropic.
Yeah. And so that's what I would guess for their model size. Maybe it could be 400. I'm not totally sure, but you would say 400B. Very big model. And the thing of self-hosting too, take that model size. And there's quantization and there's precision, and that all gets technical, and I end up talking about that a lot. But my favorite precision to make things very simple is just called 8-bit, and the math gets very simple because you just, whatever size the model is in billions of parameters, that's how many gigabytes of memory you need to host it. So 400B model, you need 400 gigabytes.
Okay.
And so my favorite self-hosting model size is in the 30B range, because you can fit it on a Mac Mini or a MacBook. Your MacBook, you can fit them. And to me, it's the sweet spot of performance to cost ratio. And they work really well at structured tasks, focused automations, data cleaning, chats where they have context or RAG or something. They crush, and so the ROI is almost immediate.
Yeah. So there's so many things I want to get into on this topic, but I want to backtrack a little bit. So we had this customer who kind of pivoted you into, or realized you should pivot into AI instead of just running your dev shop.
Right.
What sort of use cases have you seen either from that client or other clients that you could talk about? I know there may be some confidentiality or sensitive information.
Yeah, I won't get into too many specifics on certain clients, but a lot of use cases ended up being things like support agents is a recent one we're building right now. We're self-hosting a support agent, so they can just run it. It can respond to all their users, zero cost. And they pay 2 support reps $20 an hour. And so if we can save any time at all, and this model, we're trying to get away with one on a Mac Mini. We might have to use one that you'd fit on a Mac Studio. But if we can save a couple hours a day, maybe 1 to 2 hours a day from each rep, that becomes $40 to $80 a day. That compounds over time, and the hardware is a one-time fixed cost. So that's how we kind of calculate the ROI. But some of the use cases have been really fun. A lot of them, though, I would say involve either organizing data. So it takes messy text input and it just kind of formats it. That's a really good use case. And then you can put it in your database, and so another one is, like I said, RAG-based, grounded chats.
And can we explain RAG real quick?
Yeah. So RAG is just like, you can store text in a way where AI can intelligently retrieve very specific bits of information. And so you can have a small model, but it can you can upload all of this knowledge, say, about your company. This is what we're doing with the support agent.
Sure.
And so when a customer asks a question, it can intelligently pull up the most relevant piece from maybe their FAQ docs. And now the model, even though it's small, now it knows the answer to the question, right? And so that's RAG, essentially. And small models do really well when you give them good context, and RAG's a really good way to do that.
So a small model could, it doesn't have to know the answer within its own parameters, within its math. It doesn't already have that information stored. It just has this database to retrieve information from.
Yeah, exactly.
Very easily and very quickly.
Exactly. The bigger models, they know almost everything.
Yeah.
And you can get there. There's big open source models, but like I said, you need so much memory to host them.
Mm-hmm.
The small models, though, if you just give them context, they can answer questions, or they can format data, or they can, some of them can be AI agents and perform actions. And so.
Do you need a larger model for that?
It depends. It depends
on when you want to go from like it running an automation versus a user interacting with it and getting a larger context window, or what does it depend on?
It more depends on, I guess, how much you need from it. So there's this small model that's trained to be an agent, and it's 32B, so you need 32 gigs just to host it. And it is really good for its size. You can talk to it. And so I've been testing with the support agent. Hey, I'm a customer, and the first thing it's supposed to do is get my email and actually run a request to pull the user's information. And so, the model goes, hi, how are you? Like, I'm happy to help. Can I get your email? I give it my email, and then it performs this action and calls down this information and says, great, I see you're a premium subscriber. How can I help you? Mm-hmm. And so it does really well at that, really, really well. Where it would struggle is, that's a pretty friendly use case, right? Mm-hmm. What if the user's like, hey, this software sucks and I can't get my recipes over from this other database? It's like, I'd be happy to help you. Can I get your email? And it's like, why do you need my email? And it's like, I'm instructed to ask, and then they get confused. Mm-hmm. If let's say the user's let's say this person's chatting with it forever. It's like their new friend, and they love chatting with it about the app. Right. And then eventually they go, okay, I should probably get to the bottom of this. Let's go ahead and solve my issue. Mm-hmm. Well, with AI, it's processing all the information at once. Mm-hmm. And these smaller models can get, I just call it overwhelmed. Yeah. That's the best way I can describe it, is when the conversation gets really long, they get overwhelmed a lot faster. That's why small focus tasks are good for them. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we may need a larger model where it can keep in mind the whole conversation, but still reliably then go perform those actions, because it has to be very specifically structured. And so those are some of the limitations.
So when does it make sense does it ever make sense for an individual to host their own model for personal AI use?
I get asked that a lot now, and generally, no. Mm-hmm. Generally, I would say no.
That's a cost thing? Is that difficulty of setup?
Well, as an individual using AI, most individuals, I feel like AI is the evolution of the internet. Mm-hmm. And so you're using AI as just this know everything research engine.
It's your new Google.
Yeah. And so to self-host a model that knows everything, you need a lot of hardware, mm-hmm. And so sometimes yes, like on the new MacBooks, they're $5,000 computers and you get 128 gigabytes. So in theory, you could host up to 100 billion parameter model, and those open source models get really good, really competitive. And there's good coding ones. Mm-hmm. There's a really good new coding one called Qwen 3 Coder Next, and it's 80B, so you need 80 gigs.
Okay.
And it's really good at coding. It's really, really good at agentic coding too. You can plug it in something like a Claude Code CLI. It gets overwhelmed too if you code a long time with it. It gets overwhelmed way faster than Opus does, but it does a good job generally. So there's some times now where if you want to buy a $5,000 computer, self-hosting can be really good, but it's still limited. And the thing is, most people are using it like the internet. Mm-hmm. And so I generally say no, use the bigger, badder model. Where I see most of the best results from self-hosting is with very specific use cases. And if you're already paying for AI, you can just eliminate your cost. And that's kind of where it makes sense to self-host most of the time. So
I'm curious, I want to dive a little bit deeper here. Let's say we have not a large Fortune 500, but not like a solopreneur business. We have maybe 100 employees, 50 to 100 employees. We've got people in accounting, we've got HR, we've got customer support reps. Does it make sense for that business to transfer from a ChatGPT Enterprise or Gemini Enterprise plan to self-hosting something? Would that ever make sense?
Yeah, that's a different story, because now instead of one person who's buying 40K of hardware to self-host Opus.
Right.
Now you can have 150 people, so you distribute that cost. You can have the same hardware cost. And there's open source models that are very, very competitive. They're competing with Opus. Opus is the best one right now that I'm aware of any AI model.
Yeah. I mean, you're more in the know, but it's the best I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Well.
And they're crushing on just everything. But there's some open source models like GLM5, really, really competitive, and a really good just generalist model, pretty much good at everything. It's like 744 billion parameters, I think. Okay. So you need a lot of memory.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
But if you can host it, it's really good. And so when you have maybe 150 people, and there's other use cases too, where if a lot of companies now are building like these little OpenClaw or Hermes agent employees, those can get expensive. And so, if you have enough people like that, self-hosting can be awesome because you can host really good AI models. And so, yeah, absolutely it can. It depends what you're spending and what your agreement already is, and if you have the CapEx to buy the hardware. But it can. But I always tell people, like, try and get more structured, right? Opus is compensating for a lack of structure. It has to know everything because it's just handling a dynamic array of inputs, right?
Right.
But if you were to narrow the focus of each chat, even within your company, you could get away with way smaller models. If you do a RAG chat and you silo it, hey, I'm talking to HR, so I have all this HR information. I'm talking to dev, so I have all this documentation information. You can get away with a 100B model that's just crushing. And you can do this with mainstream APIs too, not just self-hosting. If you're using Opus for everything and you create a lot more structured tasks or siloed environments, you can use Sonnet and cut your API bill in half, And so that's the biggest thing I tell people is just get more specific, more structured. It's a blanket rule for AI that the more focus and the more structure, the better the results you're going to get with smaller models and less cost.
Yeah, I think the cost plays into, we've talked about OpenClaw, or we just mentioned it a couple times. Do you think OpenClaw is overrated at this point?
Yeah. Well, okay, I would say yes and no. Yes, generally. But some people are doing really cool stuff with it.
Yeah. And what have you seen? What's the really cool stuff?
I actually just talked to a guy today. He's building like an OpenClaw workforce, and he's doing it in a really smart way. They have all of this structure in place for data cleaning, data formatting, data aggregation. So he's got all this data, and his like HR reps, they just have to go through and add a new person or edit someone's profile. It's like an AI can easily do that. So they have this OpenClaw agent that can respond at any time, that can just do that at a fraction of the hourly rate. And it does really good because they have all the structure already. And so I'm like, whoa, you're going to kill it. Like, you're going to like scale your workforce drastically without having to add. And he just wants to do human in the loop reviews. And so a person's monitoring the agentic workforce, right? And they can monitor multiple agents. And I'm seeing that a lot right now. Like, he's not the only guy. He's someone I talked to recently, but there's a lot of people that are building, they have these really good use cases. And most people I think don't. That's why I gave the answer I gave. I played with like Hermes agent, which I like better than OpenClaw.
The marketing is just not as good.
OpenClaw
is the viral one.
OpenClaw trended really big, really fast, and then this AI lab made Hermes agent, and it's legitimately just better. It's more optimized for AI. It's just like the skills are siloed, so it only pulls up relevant docs when it needs it, and so it's just like it's better for AI in general, but it's just newer. It's just not as trendy.
Yeah.
But I played with it, and I was like, I just like don't have anything for you to do. Like, great, you can run 24/7, but I have like no jobs for you.
Yeah.
Right. And I just use Claude Code to code. So, to help me code. And so, yeah, I don't know. I was just like, I don't see a ton of use cases, but the few use cases I do see are really cool.
Yeah. I did consider setting one up just to have it put out. Like, what if I put out 100 clips for my podcast every day? Like, well, it could probably do that, but would the clips be any good?
I don't know.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't even know how its video editing skills are.
Yeah.
Who knows?
According to ChatGPT and Gemini, which is the one, the two models I was asking about this, it probably wouldn't be very good at it yet. I don't know that there's like a Premiere Pro, like video editing skill. It could use Chrome, my web browser, and I do already have a Clips website that I go to. So theoretically, it should be able to operate that website, but the clips that this website are putting out, like, they have to be edited. So how would it know?
Right.
Like, I don't think it'd do a great job.
But
But
it's a tough use case.
100 clips a day, that'd be sweet.
That'd be nice. Yeah. Content is king.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of all these AI models, and I want to get back to your company, but I've got one more question, at least for now. We talked about Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, several other models that you've mentioned that I've forgotten already. I'll have to review this for my own personal use. OpenAI with ChatGPT was not the first to invent. They didn't invent AI, but they were the ones who kind of had the blue ocean of like they popularized AI.
They
usage.
were the leaders. Yeah,
they had first mover advantage. Everyone adopted. Like some people just know AI as Chat GBT, as I've heard it. Like they're so out of the loop. It's GPT. They don't even know. Or PGT.
Or GDP.
Or GDP, yeah.
Yeah, that was on to hear a lot. Chat GDP, and I'm like...
Yeah, it's like, you're not an economist or a computer scientist, I can tell. Anyway, so OpenAI with ChatGPT, they were kind of the first, we'll call it.
Right.
First mover advantage. Would you say that they still have an advantage in AI?
Why is that? I feel like they're sinking faster than the Titanic.
So why is that?
I think it's a couple things, but there's a real bottleneck, and it's that hardware bottleneck. I was trying to use the NVIDIA ecosystem, and it's expensive and it's power hungry. The H100 cards, they have like 80 gigabytes. They're like $20,000 plus a piece. And so like, no matter who you are, like the numbers like don't add up all the time. It's like you're building a data center with those, you're spending billions, and that's just expensive. And so Google invented something called their TPU, and it's not a GPU. That's a graphical processing unit. It's a TPU. It's a transformers processing unit, and it's AIs are built on this Python library, the transformers library. It's like what all AIs are built on.
Okay.
And so they built a special chip specifically for that. It's like as fast as a GPU. It was way more power efficient. It's way more affordable to make.
Okay.
And so Google's winning that hardware game against OpenAI. And that's why Gemini was the first with 1 million token context window. They had enough memory bandwidth to train a model, whereas OpenAI had to be buying this more expensive hardware. So that was a real bottleneck, I think, and a real limitation. But the thing that I think killed them, because Anthropic is partnered with NVIDIA and they're crushing. Here's what I think killed OpenAI is they like didn't stick to any values. And I feel like at every turn, they were like removing all goodwill they had.
Could you name OpenAI? I've got a few in my mind.
Because they were open source and a nonprofit taking donations.
Yeah.
And as soon as they got proof of concept, they closed sourced and turned it into a for-profit. Yeah. It's like, I don't even know how that's possible.
Like, is that legal?
Yeah. And so right there, everyone's like, I kind of got a bad taste in my mouth, but they're the leader.
And that was years ago. Like, yeah. I don't know what year was that even.
That was right when they started pretty much. Like they came out with GPT-2 and it was like proof of concept. And then GPT-3 came out and people were like, oh, this is going to be really good. And then it was right around the time of GPT-3, maybe before, maybe after, I think is when they were no longer. I know around that time they were a nonprofit. I don't know exactly when.
Yeah, I would wager that most casual users of AI, like I assume your parents, my wife, like they probably don't even know that OpenAI started as a nonprofit and that it was open source.
Right.
So I would say that's number one.
That's the first thing. And they just kept doing stuff like that. We'll never do ads in ChatGPT. And then they're like, we're going to do ads in ChatGPT. And we're never going to do erotic content. And then we're going to do erotic content. And it's like, you could see it just feels like they started getting desperate. And it's hard. They were spending a lot to be the leader, to build better models. But Anthropic really caught up because they specialized. They said, we have the best coding models. That's what they always advertised for a long time, is we have the best coding models. And they also made this emphasis of safety and building AI the right way. And they built that goodwill. Whereas I feel like OpenAI was shooting themselves in the foot every single time at every turn.
Yeah. And there's that Super Bowl ad too from Anthropic where they're like, never going to have ads in Claude. Don't worry about it.
They went for the jugular, dude. Yeah. They went after OpenAI, and it was hilarious to watch. And you're kind of like, yeah, like you get what you get, you know, don't make yourself an easy target. And they like took majority market share like right after that. They just absolutely killed it. And now
so Claude has majority market share now?
Yeah, I think I just was checking. I think they do.
You know if that's paid users, free users, or all users?
I don't know. Probably. I think the market share is just all users.
Okay.
But OpenAI had a very small fraction paying, and Claude has a much higher percentage paying, I think. But they had Claude Code, and Claude Code's really good. And now with Claude Code, I can make an account for $100 a month, and I can link it to Claude Code and use flat rate code assistance instead of that API based, which is what it used to be. And so I have usage limits, but they're very generous. I haven't hit them yet. And so it's like way cheaper than Codex. I was burning well over $100 a month on Codex. I tried.
And Codex is from OpenAI.
That's OpenAI's. Yeah, sorry, that's their CLI coding tool.
Yeah. So, final answer: AI has fallen off.
Yeah, I think OpenAI is going to be remembered kind of like the MySpace. Like,
really?
Yeah, I think they spearheaded it, and I think they lost their first mover advantage. I mean, AI, but the bottom line is now anyone can build an AI model. It's expensive, but there's so much money going around in the AI industry. Like, there's so many companies getting funding to build these models.
I would say from a business perspective too, they've focused on too many things.
Yeah.
Like Anthropic, I think has done, and I haven't been using Anthropic or Claude as long as I have ChatGPT, because ChatGPT was first mover, so that's what I got on first. Yep. But if we think about OpenAI, they have Codex, they have the standard user interface with ChatGPT, image creation, Sora for video creation.
They had Sora.
Yep, just shut down. They said, this is not making us any money. We cannot do this.
Video gen's so expensive.
Yeah. Which I've tried to build some automated video gen things, and it's just so expensive for me to even test my environment. And like, I would have to spend so much money to get this to a point where I think it's worth bringing to market. Like, this was bottom of my totem pole. I'm not going to worry about this project. So yeah, they just killed Sora. And I just wonder, like, how close to profitability are you guys? Like, how dead in the water is OpenAI at this point?
They're so far from profitability. And it's tough because I don't know, I think they kind of took a bullet for the rest of the industry too, kind of trying everything and figuring out like people don't want to pay just to chat with AI. Like they pretty much want it free, like Google, you know? And then, but Anthropic kind of found out, hey, people will pay for coding, you know, and they crushed that. And so, and then, you know, now there's so many things to pay for, but I think they also found people won't really pay for video because it's hosting an AI model to generate videos is so expensive. It is so people have asked me like, what if I self-host a video gen model? I'm like, don't, just don't do it. It's very expensive. So they did this very expensive business model that you said, it's just hard to get that production ready where you're actually going to want to release anything. And so I feel like they kind of figured out what not to do in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then the big thing is like, I think AI is a lot about trust. It's a lot about brand trust. Gemini's making killer models. Anthropic's making killer models. OpenAI still has killer models. And now open source models are just crushing. It seems to come down to more like a, you know, well, which one do you use? And I feel like they killed a lot of their positive brand association. And so when it came down to it, it's like, well, I'll just use Claude or Gemini, you know? It's like...
And if you're on the Google suite, like Gemini's already built in, it's pretty convenient there.
Google's killing it. They're doing a really good job.
I want to focus the conversation on you and what you've been doing in AI. But one more thing from like the business sense, like this is one reason why Apple crushes so much. Because people talk about like Apple versus Android, Apple versus Windows. Like, yeah, Android phones had this feature 3 or 5 years ago. Apple just released it. Like, but they released a like perfected Apple version of it. Rather than pioneering what features don't actually work and losing money on that.
Right.
That's like their whole business model.
Someone told me this, they're like, Apple is no longer the guys that do it first. They're the guys that do it best. And that's how he said it. And I was like, I agree with that. Like, and they crush. And I think that's what they're doing with AI, by the way. Everyone says Apple's out of the game. And what's interesting is right when AI started trending, like 5 years ago, they released their M1 chip. And here's what's really interesting about the M chip architecture, right? Not to get like too nerdy, but
dude, I'll get nerdy on the M series chips. They killed the Mac versus Windows discussion.
They're so good.
Yeah.
And here's what's so cool about it. Here's where it gets even cooler. This is what I realized, and this is why we pivoted to Mac, is that AI, you know, you're running it on these GPUs. And they're very expensive. And then Apple's M chips say, hey, system RAM and GPU is all the same thing. So it's like way more affordable and it's way bigger. It's way more memory. And what I found was that my bottleneck was memory, not speed, right? They're not as fast as a dedicated GPU, but that was never my bottleneck. My clients were small. They just needed an AI to work. It couldn't be painfully slow, but they didn't need the H100 speeds, right? And so that's what's cool about Apple is that shared memory pool. And that's what makes it like 1/10 the cost. And so they come out with this M chip architecture. Like the same year AI comes out and everyone's like, oh, Apple's not building AI models. Here's what I think they realized. I think they realized everyone's going to build AI models. Like everyone's going to train a model.
Yeah.
I think what they realized is it's going to come down to a hardware game. And I think Google realized this too. And Google's playing it very smart with their TPUs, I think. Apple is going for what I think is a distributed AI structure where you self-host. Right now, I'm like, probably don't self-host. You need a $5,000 computer and the models aren't there yet, but they're getting there.
Right.
Every month, there's a new release of a smaller open source model that is outperforming larger frontier models.
Yeah.
And that's happening very frequently. And I think Apple knew. This is like where I get conspiracy theory, but like somehow they knew and they're building the best hardware for everyone to host the AI instead of big data centers.
Right.
To distribute it. And it's the M chip architecture and it's really good. And now the M5s, they're specifically advertising for AI and it's like way good. Really, really good. And the AI models are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And pretty soon, I think a lot of people will be hosting their coding model or their, Google model, their, browser, their internet AI on their MacBook. I really think that'll become a lot more common in the future as the models get better and smaller. And as tools get better, there's more and more tools.
The chips are getting much more efficient too. Like,
yeah.
I'm not as much of a hardware nerd. I'll call you a nerd. I'm not as much of a hardware or software nerd as you are. I'm not as in the know, but I know that the chips are moving from a 3 nanometer build to a 2 nanometer build, which is vastly more superior. Much
don't know
more
how
efficient.
They're doing that.
And I don't even know what that sentence just means that I just said, but I know it's happening and I know it's way better. And so like we talked about OpenClaw, where I've had these chats from like, should I start OpenClaw? Should I buy a new Mac Studio or would my my M3 Max chip, would that run it efficiently?
It would.
And
you
it would.
could run a model on your Mac. Actually, with 64 gigs, you could run some pretty good ones.
I can do some pretty good stuff here. But especially with like the newer M5 chips versus the M3, they're way faster.
Way faster.
Way faster than what I've got. And this was probably $5,000 brand new. I bought it used, but it was probably $5,000 brand new for this laptop.
Yeah.
And the chips that are now in like the MacBook Neo that just came out is using a cell phone chip.
Yeah, it's
because
so crazy.
Apple's chips are getting that powerful.
Well, their cell phone chips got really good, and they're hosting small models on iPhones, and that blows my mind.
Yeah,
I don't think people
insane.
realize how cool that is.
Yeah. So like we're talking about, the models are getting smaller and more efficient, but the hardware is also getting much more efficient, much more powerful.
And quickly. And the crazy thing is it's the same cost. The new M5 Max is the same price for the same computer last year.
Yeah.
But it's way better hardware.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me how they're doing it. And I think they're going to crush. I think they're going to just, like you said, they're going to be late to the game.
Right.
Everyone's learning what not to do. And I think Apple's going to really, really crush.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very impressed. I've really loved this laptop. But as these new ones are coming out, I'm like, if I want to self-host a model, I would just get a new laptop. I know I can do some stuff here, but more power, you can do more. And that's what I'd go for.
Yeah, and they're faster. They're a lot faster on the M5s. It's crazy.
Hey, so we've gotten, I think I want to talk about all this stuff. We kind of just gone out of order with the questions that I had in mind, but I want to get back to you, your company, and what you guys are doing. So you alluded on LinkedIn recently that you had a big announcement coming up. Yeah. Are you able to share anything about that?
Yeah, I'm excited. The timing is perfect for recording this podcast. So we spent, at first we were setting up self-hosted AI for companies, as a service. And people wanted it so much, we ended up, once we figured out the Mac secret and got our software working, I mean, that was a journey. That took us like 6 months to really get it. The Mac software doesn't have as robust an ecosystem as the NVIDIA GPUs do. So we had to build a lot from scratch. Now it's like catching up a little bit, but we figured that out. We built a really good software for it and we productized it. Because we found out people just kind of, now that the hardware is so inexpensive, they just want to buy a Mac Mini. They don't want me to host it. I don't like the rental model. Yeah. Right? I don't like renting the AI. I'm like, just own it. That's what I think's cool. That's what I'm passionate about. Yeah. Buy a $2,500 Mac Mini and own an AI for your automation instead of renting from me. And so we decided to productize our software so people could just buy the computer and pay a flat rate subscription. And so what's really cool about that is we bought this 512 gigabyte Mac Studio to self-host for clients on, but now all the clients are buying their own hardware. And a thing I get asked a lot is like, which open source models do I use? And how did you learn that? And it's all experimentation, all of it. That's anything with AI right now. I feel like the best ways to learn is to experiment. And so here's what's really cool is I had this Mac Studio and I got to tinker with open source models all year long practically and learn what works, what doesn't, which ones are good, which ones say they're good but actually suck. And I got to experiment. And so what's really cool is we're going to offer completely free AI APIs on our cloud. If you create an account, you can use any of the open source models on our library. There's like around 40 and you can use them in N8N workflows, in your production apps. We have super generous usage limits because the coolest thing about self-hosting is I have no token costs.
Yeah.
I'm not paying anything for it. And so I want to flex how cool that is and show people like, hey, here's free AI APIs, right? On one Mac Studio. And maybe we'll add another one, if usage gets really high, but this is just for people to experiment and tinker. And then what's really cool is our subscription is just $300 a month. You can buy any Mac you want. And our website's going to tell you what kind of Mac you need to handle the models you're hosting.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
So it'll just be like, hey, with your workload here, you need a Mac Mini or you need this Mac Studio, right? Go buy it. And then $300 a month, unlimited AI, no usage limits.
Yeah, I love that. My day job, like we use Copilot, we use Claude. We're not self-hosting anything. And this is like a massive company. Many hundreds of employees work at this company. And like we're just spending, I don't even know how much. I'm not in accounting, but we all have API limits that we run over every month. Right. Because that's what you do.
Yep.
And the company's like, well, if you're getting more work done, then I guess we're not going to get mad at you. But we are running over our API limits that they've given us all the time. And so something like this, like how much have you done the math on how much a client could save if they're running something via the cloud, paying API costs, and then doing something through your business?
It gets insane. And the bottom line is AI is so good that companies are like, yeah, if it's helping you get more done, run over your limits.
Yeah.
Because we're all moving faster and that means more money.
Right.
And so it's kind of that two-edged sword there. But what's really cool is some people save so much right out the gate. So one guy was spending about $2,500 a month on tokens and he was able to self-host on a single Mac Mini for $2,500 one time.
Yeah.
Right. And so, with us, he moved to the cloud because our Mac solution wasn't really ready yet. And so he moved to the cloud. This was 6 to 8 months ago. And so even still, he's renting GPUs on the cloud for like $800 a month. And he's still saving like, what is that? Like $1,700 a month.
Yeah.
And it's flat rate. He was trying to 4X his usage, but he didn't want to 4X his cost. It was correlated. And so anyways, that was like small business, like one guy who like had like 3 Indian developers and he just eliminated that bill completely. And we have another guy who would be spending, he just launched, this is the recipe app. So they're using Courier is what our software is called. They're using it on a Mac Studio. They would need a Mac Studio with 256 gigabytes. It's about $7,500. Okay. And they would be spending about $600 a month right now, but they only launched it in their desktop app and 70% of their users are on their mobile apps. And that's what they're rolling out right now. So right now they're already saving $600 a month. It was a higher CapEx, upfront cost, but it's going to scale to their mobile apps too, where the rest of their users are, without any increase in cost. They're our guinea pig client, but they're at a flat $300 a month, right? If they were paying, that's the best thing. They're not even paying us because they're our guinea. We get to try things with them and test load and stuff like that. And so they love it. We love it. But yeah, they're just jazzed about it. They're going to be saving so much money. They're already saving a lot of money. And those are really, really small businesses. There's some businesses we're talking to that are spending 10 to 50K a month on AI. And these are larger businesses and they're larger deals and they take a lot longer to close. But they're spending like 10 to 50K. Some of them, it ranges 10 to 50,000 a month. And that like breaks my brain. I'm just such a small fish in this world and in this business world. And that is just so much money to me. And the crazy thing is they could buy 20K of hardware and eliminate that bill completely. And that blows my mind.
Yeah. Speaking of being like a small fish in this world, do you ever get imposter syndrome where you're kind of going against the grain of these $1 trillion companies? Yeah. You're building a solution that directly competes with theirs, like Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, you're directly competing with these guys in a way, but you're a small fish in this world. Do you ever get imposter syndrome when you think about that?
I used to, like, pretty bad. I was like, what are we doing? There's no way we can win, right? And then I had to change my definition of win, I guess. The good thing about being a small fish is, like, you need a lot less to eat. And me and my co-founder, I mean, we're scrappy. We bootstrapped our business. We each need such little amounts of money to pay our monthly bills. And so we didn't take any funding. We built all of this from scratch ourselves. And we just talked to some investors. We might raise a little bit, and that'd be cool. That can help us build out some really cool features really fast. But in this world of AI, it's such a small amount. And the cool thing is that I realized I don't really care. I don't need to be the next Anthropic, right? And that is such an ambitious goal. And I realized, like, I need 30 to 50 subscribers. And me and my co-founder can pay our bills and do what we love. That's what we realized, is we love doing this. And the imposter syndrome kind of just left, because, like, yeah, we're going against the grain, but it, like, really works for small businesses. And now large businesses are talking to us. And I'm like, I don't even know why you're talking to me. Like, I don't even know how you found me, for that matter. And it's just really cool. It's validating, right? People want our software, and that's a really good feeling. But the thing is, like, to win for us, you know, OpenAI makes billions a year, but they spend 10x that.
Yeah.
We spend almost nothing, so we don't need billions a year. We just need, like, 100, 200K a year for two guys. We'd be six-figure salary again at 200K a year, right? That's all our business needs to generate.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we grow and if we scale, you know, we'd have more costs. But it's nice being small, because winning's a lot easier.
Yeah, I think there's a couple lessons there, right? Like, if you keep your overhead low, it makes it a lot easier to meet your definition of winning.
Right.
I think about my personal finances. I'm like, man, I spend way too much on food. Like, I got to make way more money just so I can go out to eat more.
Right.
And these are the problems that everybody has. But, like, in a business sense, like, you have your hardware costs, but then you're hosting everything locally. So you're keeping your costs low, but you can still provide your service to all these other companies.
Right.
So as you think about the growth then of your company, like, where do you see this business going, like, 5 years from now? Do you think you'll still be doing the same thing?
I have no idea. And it took me a while, but to get comfortable with that answer, I wanted to have a 5-year plan, and we're going to build this disruptive self-hosting. And now I almost, like, don't really care. It last year was a dev agency. This year we have this hosting software that's really cool. It's just so different. And for me, AI is changing things so fast that I feel like a 5-year plan, I'm like, well, I don't even know what the landscape's going to look like in 5 years. So I'm just taking it kind of as it comes. What I really love is self-hosting. And it's a complete unlock. And there's it's not for everyone, but there's a lot of use cases where the results are really, really good. And so that to me is exciting. And that's what we're tackling. And this year, we just want to get 50 subscribers. That's it. That's all I want this year. And me and my co-founder can, like, retire off that. Like, we're happy. So that's what we're looking for this year. And who knows how that might change. And who knows, Anthropic might release something really disruptive that hurts our business. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's just kind of what happens. The biggest thing is, you know, we're learning a lot, and we're really enjoying the experience, and we really feel like we built something cool. And now we just want to sell it and see where that takes us. And I guess find the next steps kind of as they come.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what those next steps are. I remember when I think we got connected last summer, maybe.
Yeah.
On LinkedIn. And I saw the dev agency. I'm like, oh, cool. If I have software needs, like, then I could go there. And then I got acquainted with Replit. I'm like, well, I can try building my own software. So sorry, I never reached out.
You're good. The dev agency, I realized, wasn't going to scale well with where AI was going.
I think AI has killed a lot of hopes and dreams, and then built others up.
Yep.
But now I've seen, like, your progression from a distance, and now getting to hear it in person, I think is so much more exciting for me to, like, just think about, like, where your story is going to go to. And if other people want to get connected with you or become a customer, where can they do that?
Yeah, LinkedIn's the best spot. It's where I post content on all of this. I do my best to message everyone who messages me. And so LinkedIn's the best spot, you know, and you can follow me, you can connect with me, you can reach out to me. But then also our website, you can create a free account. This is launching. We're filming this today. I don't know when it'll release, but this weekend we're launching our free APIs.
Okay.
And so
create an account. So that should be done by the time this goes out then. It'll be out next week.
Okay, perfect. So that'll be done. So create a website, create an account on the website, and you can use our free APIs. You can experiment with open source AI. I'm actually, on top of that, I've created a little open source almanac is what I call it. And it's just like my experience with all the open source models I've been testing that I like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all baked into our website. And that way people can explore what models they want to use or what models they may want to self-host or what might work for them. And so, yeah, that's going to be a great place to experiment. That's the goal, is to make it kind of a playground where you can experiment with open source AI. And so definitely I would say create a free account there too.
Awesome. Well, links in description, of course. And hopefully we can get to that 50 subscribers this year.
Perfect, man. That's the hope.
Hey, Jackson Oaks, everybody. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you.